going on, everybody? Good afternoon. Take a look at today's price action here. You'll see that pretty similar to yesterday. We've just continued to press higher. Right, we finally attacked this buy side here, and we've gotten back above the 1 hour fair value gap. Notice how no bodies have closed above it. Right, simply reaching for this buy side here. So that was the objective for today. As you see, really similar to yesterday with London. Right, London creates that Judas. We run down to clear out sell side. So we had sell side resting here. Right, we clear that sell side. We return into a discount as well as the fair value gap. And from there, we just continue to trend higher. Right, just like yesterday when London cleared sell side, reversed, and continued to trend higher throughout the day. Here on the 15-minute, you'll see how we continue, right, to use now, this is the 15-minute fair value gap here. Drag that out, also paired with the daily volume imbalance. You see how that level gets used here in London. We bounce from here, right, break structure at this high. And really, up inside of this kind of price action, we were just continuing to look for higher prices. So pretty sloppy delivery, but you see that we eventually got that release, right, even after we break above 830. So notice here, right, low, high, low, low, broken with displacement. So we have a breaker block resting here, paired with the 830 level, also paired with, right, that fair value gap. So you see all these things aligning in this area, which is why ultimately we find support, even though it is pretty ugly, right, a lot of wicks. We still support this area and deliver into that buy side here. Take a look now on the 1 minute. Start cleaning this up. So here on the 1 minute now, we had shared, right, this initial entry. So let me go back to the 15-minute just quickly. Right, we had a 15-minute fair value gap here that we were looking at. So if I drag that out for the morning, because that ended up being our morning target. Like this, nice. So you'll see prior to, right, 9:30, we come out, we create equal lows. We were speaking of how we were interested in seeing whether or not this fair value gap would support price heading into 9:30. And the entry we shared, right, came on this fair value gap. So as we trade back into the fair value gap once, twice, ultimately 3 times, right, 3 drives, notice that, 1, 2, 3 swing lows. We break back above the 830 level. Notice this candle, right, closes above 830. We still were uncertain because we had seen this fair value gap, right? We had wanted to see whether or not this fair value gap here would become a roadblock in price. But once we close above it here on this candle, we were then okay to look for higher prices, right? Especially because we had closed above this volume imbalance here as well that we were using. So notice this volume imbalance, right? Drag it out in time. We use it as resistance, right? As we finally close above it, then we got back in on that volume imbalance, simply targeting the high of the 15-minute fair value gap. And this level we have here is also the consequent encroachment of a daily wick. All right, so let me go to a daily chart just to show you. It's a consequent encroachment of this wick here. So you see how in the morning session we delivered to that level perfectly, right? Beautiful. And that's why we exit here, exit on the high of the morning. And now when it breaks structure at this low, well, we have created the breaker / YouTube model. So we have a bearish market structure shift, right? We leave behind a fair value gap as we do that. And now we're also having a high, low, higher high get broken. So this down close candle becomes our breaker. And this is where you see now our second entry take place. So we trade up into it, we create this mini consolidation, right? I'm seeing this purely as liquidity. So as we create this consolidation, right, miniature seek and destroy, high, lower low, higher high, we come out to make a lower low, still not reaching for our target here at this sell side. So this was our sell side objective. As we're creating this little mini seek and destroy in here, right, as we run that buy stops, that's where we're entering. So really a total soup entry, but also utilizing the breaker paired with the fair value gap. So a lot of things aligned in this area. And that's why you see after running these buy stops, we reverse, deliver into that sell side. Right after running these buy stops and reversing, you see how we give us one more opportunity in the form of this small fair value gap here that gets formed. So even if you miss, right, the clean entry here that we got involved with, as we break lower, right, gives us another opportunity. We also had an inversion level in here that we were using. So many fair value gaps in here that could have offered us lower prices. Ultimately, however, we do deliver into that sell side we were looking for, and just back into now the 15-minute fair value gap. So we exit really on low of day, right? So end up catching high and low of that morning session, which was real clean. We spoke about how as long as price can hold now, consequent encroachment of the 15-minute fair value gap like it does, we would look for a reversal, right? And we get that here. Reversing once we push up and through this 15-minute fair value gap here, doing it with now a 1-minute fair value gap. We spoke about how this would be an area of interest for us and we would expect higher prices, right? Lo and behold, that plays out beautifully. We wick into it once, twice, ultimately breaking back above, using the inversion level that we spoke about, and just pushing up and into, right, this inefficiency. So that original 15-minute fair value gap, and really just refilling all of the inefficiencies left behind in here. Remove these, keep it a little clear. You see we give a slight consolidation, right, heading into lunch. But even heading into lunch, right, you see that we finally do release, clearing a short-term low, right? So giving us a U2 model in this form. Short-term low cleared here. Right, returning back into now this inversion. So the original fair value gap we used to get short, once we close above it here on this candle, we would expect for it to act as support. So we can drag that out. Right, and now as we create this little U2 model, short-term low cleared, breaking back above the 830, we're confirmed to look for those higher prices. And you see once we create that market structure shift, we trade back into the fair value gap here, once, twice, ultimately breaking, right, giving you a nice little volume imbalance entry, right, as this candle taps that candle's close, and then off to the races from there. Notice this level, right, we had spoke about before we had left, that if price was animated, wanted to continue to run higher, right, we have the daily consequent encroachment. I'm going to remove that now. But then we also had these higher inefficiencies. So we had this 15-minute, right, we had this original 1 hour, and then we had buy side resting here. So the first objective, right, we run into that 15-minute, notice how the candle bodies hold. We return back into now this inversion, and then continue to press higher. So really just a trending day. Any retracement was simply back into a discount. Right, you'll see this is also just a 15-minute fair value gap that we hold as well. We'll go back to the lower time frames, see what took place in the afternoon here. Right, so during power hour, our little power hour setup, or I guess we'll go really the 1:30. Right, our afternoon session really kind of choppy within the 1 hour fair value gap here. Right, so we're kind of just chopping back and forth within that, or the 15-minute, excuse me. Label that so you can see. Ultimately, we do get back under it, but notice how we're still just using this original inversion, right? So after breaking the inversion, classifying it as an inversion, we never revisit below that area. Right, so that's nice to see. We do get really a few different setups here in the afternoon. So at the first one that you would look at would be here. So to get short into this sell side, right, as we run up and clear these buy stops, we're clearing out equal highs. We're creating even a fractalized little, right, short-term high cleared, breaking structure here at this low. And we use really just this baby fair value gap. So nothing really too clean, but you see how these concepts, right, continue to deliver us lower, ultimately delivering us back into that inversion. You see we do get a clean little bullish fair value gap here. So as we come off of the inversion, right, we're still looking for those higher prices, right? We have buy side resting here. And then as we spoke about, we have higher targets here. So ultimately, right, as we return into this discount, we then displace back above it, leaving it with the fair value gap. We can look for that fair value gap to be traded into. Right, once we break structure here, we now create the mitigation block. Right, low, high, higher, low, gets broken with volume imbalance. And you see how we return into that level, right? Really to the tick. So perfect redelivery into that, not even getting into the volume imbalance. But from here, we just continue to trend higher. Notice how once we leave the 15-minute, we're leaving it with a volume imbalance as well, right? So not random. We then get the same thing with this candle taps that perfectly, right? Perfect delivery once again. And ultimately, we just trend higher. Here in power hour, we do get one opportunity, right? So we see these as equal lows. Fractalized setup, we have short-term lows being cleared. We then have a market structure shift at this high, right? Also could say at this here at these equal highs. And now the volume imbalance left behind gets revisited, right? Look at that beautiful delivery. So candle bodies hold that perfectly, right? Short-term low, market structure shift after breaking back above a 15-minute fair value gap, right? And we're still looking for these higher prices. So from here, we really did get that aggressive market on close order, right? Last half hour of the day, and we rip right into that buy side liquidity. From here, we've just now consolidated back inside of, right, the 1 hour fair value gap. So not a bad day overall for us. Right, had some nice winners this morning, which we were able to share and recap with you guys. And ultimately that right buy side objective here gets met. Now that we've hit that buy side, right, with CPI tomorrow, we'll just really have to wait and see. I have no bias whatsoever going into CPI, right, especially because we've already cleared this buy side here. So yeah, heading into tomorrow, we'll get on right an hour earlier, so 8:30 Eastern, just to see that CPI drop, see what takes place. But until then, hope you guys have a good night, and we will speak in the morning. See you guys.